You've been studying for weeks, maybe even months. Your desk is piled high with textbooks, notes and flashcards. You've pulled all-nighters, skipped social events, and sacrificed countless hours of sleep. You've meticulously gone through every chapter, solved every practice problem, and reviewed every concept. Revising, reviewing, trying to prepare. You've done everything you were told to do. You've put in the effort, the time, the dedication. You've highlighted, summarized, and quizzed yourself until the information felt ingrained. But the feeling doesn't change. Despite all the hard work, the nagging doubt persists. You still don't feel ready. It's that familiar knot in your stomach, the whisper of inadequacy that tells you it's not enough. You look at the mountain of material still to cover, or the one concept you just can't seem to grasp, and panic starts to set in. Why does this happen, even when you've done the work? You've seen classmates who seem to breeze through exams with less apparent effort, or friends who confidently walk into a test knowing they've got it. Why does your brain seem to betray you even after so much preparation? Because confidence doesn't come from studying more. It's not about the sheer volume of information you consume or the number of hours you log. It's not about memorizing every single detail or acing every single practice test. It comes from how your brain handles uncertainty. Our brains are wired to seek certainty, to predict outcomes, and to avoid threats. When faced with an exam, the unknown elements, the specific questions, your performance under pressure, the final grade, trigger an alarm system. Most students believe that if they study enough, they will eventually feel ready. They chase this elusive state, believing there's a magical threshold. A magical threshold of knowledge that, once crossed, will banish all anxiety. They think, if I just read one more chapter, or if I just do one more set of practice questions, then finally they'll feel that sense of calm assurance, a point where all doubt disappears. A utopian state where every concept is crystal clear, every formula is instantly recalled, and every potential question has a ready answer. They envision walking into the exam room with a serene smile, completely unburdened by fear. A point where they finally feel confident. This ideal of confidence is often portrayed as an absolute, an unwavering belief in one's abilities. But this absolute confidence, this complete absence of doubt, is a myth. But that point rarely arrives. In reality, the more you study, the more you often realize how much more there is to know. The deeper you dive, the more complexities emerge. This can lead to a paradoxical effect. The more prepared you become, the more aware you are of the vastness of knowledge, and thus, the more uncertain you might feel. The more important the exam becomes, the more certainty your brain demands. Think about a high-stakes medical school entrance exam, a bar exam, or a final project. That determines your entire semester grade. The stakes are incredibly high, and your brain interprets this as a major threat. It goes into overdrive, desperately seeking guarantees. It wants guarantees that you'll remember everything, not just the main points, but every footnote, every exception, every obscure detail. It fears the blank mind, the forgotten fact, the moment of confusion. Guarantees that you'll perform well. It imagines the worst-case scenarios, freezing up, making careless mistakes, running out of time, or simply not understanding the questions. It wants a crystal ball to show you a perfect score, guarantees that nothing will go wrong, no unexpected questions, no technical glitches, no sudden distractions, no last-minute illness. It craves a perfectly controlled environment where success is inevitable. But certainty is something studying can never fully provide. The world is inherently uncertain, and so is any assessment of knowledge. There will always be variables, unknowns, and elements beyond your control. No amount of studying can eliminate the inherent unpredictability of life or of an exam. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This ancient wisdom rings profoundly true for students. The mental anguish leading up to an exam can often be far more debilitating than the actual experience of the exam itself. Many students suffer through dozens of imaginary failures before the exam even begins. They replay scenarios in their minds, conjuring up vivid images of failure. They might imagine themselves staring blankly at a question, unable to recall the answer, or seeing a low grade on their transcript. They imagine bad grades, the disappointment of their parents, the judgment of their peers, the feeling of having let themselves down. They imagine disappointment, the crushing weight of not meeting expectations, the frustration of wasted effort, the regret of not having done enough. They imagine falling behind, losing scholarships, failing courses, delaying graduation, or missing out on career opportunities. These fears, while often exaggerated, can feel incredibly potent and paralyzing, and every imagined outcome creates more anxiety. Each negative thought feeds into a cycle of fear, making it harder to focus, harder to relax, and ultimately harder to perform at their best. This constant mental battle drains energy that could be used for productive studying. At Daily Reset Lab, this channel explores the hidden psychological patterns behind studying, pressure, and performance. We delve into the science of how our minds work under stress, offering practical strategies to navigate these challenges. And if this feels familiar, if you've ever found yourself caught in this cycle of doubt and anxiety, watch this next. Why you blank out during exams. It offers deeper insights into the physiological and psychological reasons behind those frustrating moments when your mind goes blank. Here's where the trap appears. It's a subtle shift in motivation, often unconscious, that can derail even the most diligent students. Students stop studying to learn. The joy of discovery, the intellectual curiosity, the genuine desire to understand a subject begins to fade. The intrinsic motivation is replaced by an external pressure. They start studying to remove uncertainty. The goal is no longer mastery, but rather the eradication of all potential unknowns. They believe that if they can just cover every single possible question, every single obscure fact, then they will finally be safe from failure. But uncertainty can never be completely removed. It's an inherent part of learning and growth. There will always be new questions, new challenges, and new ways to apply knowledge. Trying to eliminate all uncertainty is like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands, so the finish line keeps moving. Just when you think you've covered everything, a new topic appears or a friend mentions a concept you hadn't considered. The goalpost shifts and you feel perpetually behind. One more chapter. I just need to get through this last chapter, then I'll be ready. One more practice paper. If I can just score perfectly on this practice paper, then I'll know I'm prepared. One more revision session. Maybe if I review my notes one more time, I'll catch something I missed. And somehow it still doesn't feel enough. The feeling of readiness remains elusive, no matter how much more you do. The goal of absolute certainty is an impossible one, and chasing it only leads to exhaustion and continued anxiety. Because the goal is no longer learning, the intrinsic reward of expanding your knowledge and understanding is lost. The process becomes a chore, a means to an end, rather than an enriching experience. The goal has become certainty, and this pursuit of certainty, while understandable, is ultimately counterproductive. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of endless preparation and perpetual doubt. One small thing can help. It's a shift in perspective, a subtle but powerful change in how you approach your studies and your mindset. Before you start studying, decide what prepared enough looks like. Set realistic, achievable goals for your preparation. Define what a reasonable level of understanding and practice entails for you. This isn't about lowering your standards, but about defining a clear end point. For example, I will complete all assigned readings, review my notes twice, and do 3 practice exams. Once you meet these criteria, you can tell yourself, I am prepared enough. Because confidence is not the absence of uncertainty. True confidence isn't about knowing everything or being guaranteed success. It's about acknowledging the unknowns and trusting in your ability to navigate them. It's about accepting that you might not know every answer, but you have the skills to figure things out or to learn from mistakes. Confidence is moving forward despite uncertainty. It's taking that exam even when you have a few lingering doubts. It's presenting that project even if you feel a bit nervous. It's the courage to act, not the absence of fear. It's the belief in your resilience and adaptability rather than a perfect prediction of the future. Feeling unready does not automatically mean you are unprepared. It often means you are human. It means you are aware of the challenge and your brain is doing its job by alerting you to potential risks. This feeling can even be a sign that you care deeply about the outcome. Sometimes it simply means you're facing something that matters. The bigger the challenge, the more natural it is to feel a degree of apprehension. Embrace that feeling as a sign of significance, not a sign of inadequacy, and your score is information, not identity. A test score is a snapshot of your performance on a particular day, under specific conditions, on a limited set of questions. It does not define your intelligence, your worth, or your potential. It's data that can help you learn and improve, nothing more. Subscribe to Daily Reset Lab for more perspective like this. Join our community as we explore the psychological tools and insights that can transform your approach to learning and performance. And if you want to understand why your brain sometimes feels overloaded from studying, watch Why Studying More Makes You Remember Less. This video delves into the cognitive science behind information overload and offers strategies to optimize your study sessions for better retention and less stress.